We're now here with Dr. Danielle Henderson, a clinical psychologist from IU Health, to talk about something that's very difficult for a lot of people, especially this time of year, and that's dealing with grief,
yes.
which we know is hard anytime, right?
Yes.
But during the
definitely.
holidays, it can be very difficult.
It can be because, you know, for a lot of us, the holiday season can be a time of joy, and so we don't often think about it. It can often be a time of sadness for some as well.
What makes, I guess, it most difficult this time of year? Is it you know, people passing, that sort of thing, and just not having them there?
I think it can be a variety of things. I think, you know, having someone maybe pass or to die this year that you won't be able to see, or maybe still processing, you know, a loss from a previous year. Also maybe thinking about not being able to see your family, loved ones, or friends for various reasons can bring up feelings of grief and sadness for a lot of people.
What are some good tips for people? Let's start with people going through this and dealing with grief. What are things that they can do to help them through that?
I always try to encourage people to make a plan. You know, sometimes we really wish we could skip that day on the calendar or just kind of find a way to avoid. But we know the holiday time is going to come. We know particular dates related to holidays are going to be here. So how can we set a plan? How can we make a plan to make sure that we're trying to get our rest that day, maybe getting our support network together, letting them know this might be a difficult time for me. Can you check on me? Can we make a plan to check on each other? Making, you know, a plan maybe to honor the person that you're missing or people you're missing or celebrations you might not be able to be a part of. Baking things that you enjoy or writing letters or having a moment of remembrance or honor, I think can be really nice ways to spend this time.
Yeah, there's still ways you can feel connected to those people even though they're not here. How important is it too to also be okay in that grief, because you're allowed to feel sadness this time of year?
Yeah, so I think that's an excellent point, because again, there's so much about cheer and joy and merriment, and yes, those are all things that can be a part of this, and there are also people who are feeling sad. So I think, like you're saying, those of us who might not be experiencing that, recognizing that some people might not be feeling the same level of happiness or joy that we are, so being aware and attentive to that, and then, like you said, allowing yourself to feel these moments of sadness, whether, you know, journaling, playing music, that can help you process those emotions, a movie or something, giving yourself that space.
I think a lot of us have maybe been in this situation too, where we're with a loved one who is going through that grief. What do we do? What can we do to help them? Because you never really know what to say sometimes.
Yes, and sometimes we have the best intentions, but we don't always say the best thing or even say what is needed. So I think having a conversation about that, you know, I'm recognizing you are going through grief right now. What's the best way that I can support you? I want to be here for you. Is it sharing physical space with you and spending that day with you, calling you, or just checking in? What would be most helpful? Because I do want to be of support to you.
Is there a moment in time where people need to step in and say, hey, I think you need to talk with someone, or you maybe need to take an extra step here in this avenue?
No, again, I'm glad you brought that up. That's really excellent. Things I always think about, you know, of course, if you're having thoughts about harming yourself or harming someone else, thoughts about no longer wanting to be alive, that's definitely a time to reach out and seek support. Call the national hotlines. If you're noticing during this time, maybe you're using substances more or using substances when maybe you haven't in the past, that might be a sign. And if, again, these kinds of periods of withdrawal, isolation, or maybe lasting a little longer than typical, definitely check in with someone.
What can people do as far as getting in contact with you all and getting help from you all?
That's an excellent question. So you can Google IU Health, Psychological Services. There are also community services in our Indianapolis area that are excellent, so community mental health centers. I always also encourage talking to people you know. You'd always be surprised about who's going to therapy, who's been, who might have recommendations. So talking to people you know about maybe what's worked for them.
Sometimes, too, it's not always just death-related things either, right? I mean, it can be, you know, people either losing work or maybe you don't just get to be with people you want to be with, those sorts of things as well.
Yes, exactly. Death, loss of a job, being in a position in your life that you didn't anticipate for this year. So many different things that one can experience grief about.
Thank you so much for coming on and helping us get through it and talk through it, because I think a lot of people are going to watch this and go, hey, that helps out a lot. So we appreciate you as always.
Thank you so much.